Hello, welcome. This is Daily Dharma. My name is Deana. Thank you so much for joining. Today we've done a little bit of a pre-shuffle and out popped the 31 magic card, and under the deck 30 integration. So this is just following the first new moon after the eclipses this spring, and in my area it seems like a transition from the awakening of the springtime into the heat of the summer, and it's a hot one out there today. Apparently we're going to get some hot weather all this week, and it just seems like the time where all of our seeds have begun to take root and are beginning to emerge above the soil's surface. So the same thing with our manifestations in our life. They're becoming more obvious and starting to emerge beyond from the ideation stage and the conceptual phase into reality, as many would say. So this 31 magic card reduces to a 4, and this talks about organization, plans, order, and the divine masculine. But magic in general to me seems more of a feminine aspect, and we have it with integration. To me this means like the full magical potential of yourself is not just envisioning the beautiful harvest, it's going out and tending the seed. So if you are in the midst of a beautiful manifestation, then it's going to take both polarities, integrating your thought and then your effort. And then once you have efforted, to have faith and belief that you're going in the right direction, to follow your guidance, water it now, do this then, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be gardening, obviously, it's just a symbol. So this says the frequency of magic supports our intrinsic ability to grow and expand beyond this moment, to move toward possibilities and expressions that are as grand and profound as we can imagine. All that is required is our belief in their manifestation. So if you want to generate something, it's a magical time right now with that new moon where the eclipse portal takes and realigns us in some type of way. Some people have gentle reminders, and other people will get a more of a shake you awake crisis event with eclipses. Following that with a new moon, it's about, well, what now? What next? Where are we going to go next? What do you want out of this? Integration is, how do we put these ideas, practices, the nurturance and the taking action, the belief and the meditation and conceptualizing, and integrate that into our lifestyle? When are we going to give ourselves time to exercise, for instance, if getting in shape is our thing, or what else could it be? Integrating your lifestyle and making a plan so that it works with what you are doing, and you're not in that constant 333, I just saw it, in that constant cycle of wanting something, not understanding the action or the timing of taking those correct actions, and then feeling ashamed of yourself for not reaching goals, or setting goals way too high without the appropriate midway stepping stones in order to allow yourself to get there. You have to sometimes baby step, sometimes account for a little bit of a stepping back phase. Integration is all of that. It's that divine dance of making something reality by weaving it into the potentialities and where our comfort level is at, and where and how we want to stretch to reach those goals. So let's take some off the top here. What do we have? Third eye chakra. So they really want to pound home that this is a manifestation that begins in our mind, our heart mind even. Third eye chakra, indigo flower of life, supports our intuition and our inner knowing, our imagination and our psychic powers. In a lot of this, 444 on the clock there, a lot of manifestation can happen in the mind, but it definitely does take the masculine, the motivation to take action But most of it happens through our belief, because we won't even perceive of the right action if we don't believe in something happening. It'll be more like, oh, well, I'll never lose that extra 10 pounds, so I'll just go ahead and have that extra cake or whatever. I don't know what it is for you, but that's an easy one to make an example out of, right? Because then there's tangible evidence of the choices that we've made. And then we have sacral chakra, and it talks about creativity and self-worth and desire, sensuality. And when you're using that with the third eye chakra of imagination, this can be meditating and really imagining yourself in the point of arrival of, yeah, you want to, for instance, go someplace on some kind of vacation or something, let's say, and in your meditation practice, you might soothe your mind and relax your body, and then start to imagine yourself on a beach, if that's your destination of choice, and you could imagine your feet burying and squishing into those sand particles and feeling the sand on your feet, maybe stepping into that surf and letting the ocean or the water tickle and bubble around your ankles, hearing the seagulls, smelling the smells that happen with the ocean, feeling a slight breeze on your face, and just imagining what would you do at your vacation of choice. Or if it's hiking, imagining those grand vistas that you can look and see miles from one elevation through a valley or something, imagining yourself in the sights, the smells, and how it will make you feel. And just think, ooh, not like, oh, I want something I can't have, but in your mind, you can visit that place again and again. And the more real you can make it in your mind, the more that the mind is already there and is aligning with that destination, and it magnetizes you to that manifestation. So it is definitely a mix of the mental aspect, the emotional, the sensual, the practical, in all things. Empowerment, coming under magic, I'm making it into a bit of a diamond here. 26 is an 8. In the third eye and the sacral are 6 and 2, and we have 26. That's interesting to me too. The frequency of empowerment supports our ability to show up fully and completely, uniting us with others in the deep trust that we're all connected through the same source. So this may be a manifestation that impacts several people or requires the participation of a group or a pair, a partnership, or family. It can be anything, but it's showing up fully and completely. It's what we've been talking about. It's a multi-level manifestation. So belief. Can you guys hear that? There are still some baby raccoons in my ceiling. We're working it out. This is the pole barn for those that haven't been seeing any previous broadcasts here, but we're working on it. We will be kind to them. We're not going to be destroying them, so rest assured, animal lovers, I wouldn't want that either. Back to your reading. Empowerment is the stronger that you can hold that vision within your mind's eye, the more faith you have in your desire, and that's truly what you want, and the reasons or the feelings that you want to generate through that, and belief that that you deserve that it's possible for you to have that, empowers your, it's like this spiral. As everything reinforces another, it can actually build on those baby steps and then continue to spiral up instead of going around in a circle of, I want it, I can't have it, I'm not going to take action, okay, so I don't have it, so now I feel worse about it. And sometimes that can spiral you down instead of even in a loop. So let's get just 2 more here. Healing, 29, and Earth. Very nice. So healing and earth. I wish that those colors would show up a little bit better, but we're moving into a little bit of a green here, and that brings in Archangel Raphael's energy. And one more card here, Merkaba. Okay. Expanding your potential is what I'm hearing. So healing earth, Merkaba, it's I'll read you these cards as well because we've already started reading. Healing supports our intrinsic ability to restore our health and wholeness by consciously using the information that comes to us through our senses and harmonizing everything accordingly. So I don't know if some of you have dealt with a scarcity mentality or a feeling of poverty in either your youth or a time frame even in adulthood where there's been some financial concerns. There's a need for healing here, integrating your capacity to generate wealth or love. I'm not seeing love on here per se. It's something that you're bringing into the material world though, but that can be a commitment. But it's more about, let's say, a commitment than the emotional love behind it in this. It's healing the inner receiver of the magic and perceiving that magic and allowing it to shift and change the inner dimension. Or if it's something very material, like let's say you have car trouble and that's your material concern, but you really need a car, don't concentrate on your inability to afford the car or the vacation. Concentrate on what you need and what you deserve. I deserve a reliable transportation that will deliver me to my destination so that I can get food and make my money or whatever I need to do, right? You deserve those things. And even if I cannot get a car right now, I can somehow run across the perfect situation where I could maybe carpool or I could maybe share rides, and through this somehow some situation, maybe you'll pass by somebody who's getting rid of a car and they don't know what's wrong with it, but it's really like, something stupid like, needs a wire tightened, and you know how to tighten that one wire, and then it's a perfect car that runs well and you got it for like a couple $100 or something. Maybe you can barter. Barter is amazing. If you have any special skills, or if you don't even think you have special skills, there are dirty jobs up there around wherever. If you can, run a shovel, you can scoop some dirt, you can scoop some animal stuff. There's things. I mean, I live in the country, so that's what occurs to me. But there's jobs out there if you want them. I don't love asking people to go out and sell their time for money, but that's the basis of the outer society at this point. So I think that part of the message is also then, don't limit your own awareness of your ability to generate this wealth and magic through generating your special skills and whatever you really enjoy by empowering your ideas of yourself and the value that you bring to the table. Maybe you underestimate your know-how with mechanics or with computers or with whatever it is. People all day long are either too old to do things or too tired or too busy. And if you have something that you don't mind doing that other people don't want to do, I mean, literally, I even have heard of individuals that run a dog poop scoop business, and then they literally go in your yard, they scoop it all up, they charge by the size of the dog and by the size of the yard and the capacity basically that they pull in, and then I don't know the rest of the story. You'll have to figure that one out. But there are things that can be done that others don't want to do that they will pay you for so that they don't have to do it. So there's an expansion of your awareness of what your potential is here in healing your thought that you have to leverage your time and sell yourself. Like, I've been meeting some new people, and I talked to this one individual, and he was telling me many things that most people wouldn't necessarily tell a stranger on first meeting. Many of you, if you're empaths or healers, you probably have people that tell you that extra information that you don't really necessarily need. And this individual was telling me how happy he was to be making X amount of money, and then after a couple months he got a quarter, and then after that he got another 50 cents. And I'm thinking, wow, a quarter and 50 cents. I remember, it's all in perspective and gratitude in the moment, obviously, but when you're doing some hard labor for other individuals and making quarters and 50-cent pieces, those shiny little nickels only go so far. Bazooka gum is even more than a nickel anymore, right? You can't even get Tootsie Rolls and bazooka gum for nickels. So why are we still making the money that our parents told us to make instead of going out and innovating? This is the era of change and innovation. And look at the internet. We can reach the entire world, and whatever it is that we have to say or do or put together, there is so much that can be done just by having that inspirational insight and healing our belief in what we enjoy and how we can serve ourselves and others in this mutually symbiotic relationship where everybody is winning. And we can also have enough to not only feed ourselves and meet our needs, but maybe enough that we even have enough money we can share that abundant money with others and pay others to do the things that we don't want to do. I mean, because if we're not elevating, which that's not for everybody, elevating is in the eye of the beholder too, perhaps, but we should be able to rest and not work double shifts for nickels. That's all I'm saying. Earth. The frequency of Earth activates our deep connection to this physical plane by showing us the beauty of all the aspects of our Great Mother and revealing the more ethereal, spiritual aspects of our nature. So it's pretty deep. I mean, it's interesting how I can read these cards again and again and get different messages. The deep connection to the physical plane by showing us the beauty of the Great Mother. It's kind of like, if you pay attention to nature, there are things that need to be cleaned up. There are things that can be served in how we serve and nurture other people. And revealing the more subtle aspects of our nature shows us that we're not just what we've been told to be or socialized to be, that we have our own preferences. And sometimes, for instance, I like to tell people, you don't deserve things by making the most money. You deserve things by, what is that saying? By virtue of the number of hearts that you lift up, or something like that. I don't know who said it or how it goes, but correct me in the comments if you know that quote. It's something about lifting up those hearts, throwing back those starfish that wash up on the shore one at a time. 100 might die that day, but maybe the one or two that get thrown back in, they're healed. So this is kind of about saving yourself from the same fate of just barely making ends meet, and then never ending up having time for vacations and things like that. Expanding your field here is, I feel like it's a multi-faceted up-leveling where the eclipse is bringing in clarity about who, what, where, why we are, what we want, and what we don't want. The frequency of Merkaba supports our ability to use our consciousness to traverse into other layers of reality and dimensions. It activates our access to the Akashic inheritance as well, merging the totality of our experiences into our present to serve our highest purpose. So it's really telling us that there's a need for even greater change and shifting. There's more dynamism when we can perceive of the little subtleties, like a person over here with some kind of insecurity. When we interact with them, we could poke holes in their insecurity. We could joke with them and hope that by joking with them that they'll understand that we're just making light of it. Or we could go and, understanding of those insecurities, we could almost, I don't want to say gas them up, but kind of, and it's not blowing sunshine. It's saying, oh, hey, you look really, really happy today or something. What's going on with you? Or just something else. I mean, maybe somebody who's simple, just really meeting them at their level. Like I had the blessing of meeting somebody with some special needs, an adult man-child who has the mentality of about a 3 or 4-year-old, and he's so very simple, and it was the sweetest thing. And I can see how other people get really spent and tired with that constancy, and they become distracted because of the appearance of his maturity, and they can't see that that child is not able to verbalize the needs that are unmet. But if you slow down the expectations and the urgency of do, why can't you be the way that society says that you should be? Well, it's because this person is not society. They are one of the people and places and energies on this huge spectrum, and some people are super high operating, some people are low operating, and that's where we get the average in the center. And if we can let other people off the hook and understand how that all works in, I think that we can understand how to employ our magic with those people to empower those other individuals in a different way, and to draw them out a little bit, and to anticipate maybe what their needs would be. Or if they're fixated on something, we can use our energy to draw their attention someplace else. It's all about the way that we integrate our perceptions, our abilities to comprehend and imagine what would that person be best served by? How can we serve them? And of course, it's all about, ultimately, you need to serve yourself first. But there's more that we can do if we can perceive our value based on a broader array of contributions than just our monetary or our social or our status. So yeah, maybe you are healing this earth and expanding your potential at this time, empowering the third eye chakra, and the more that you perceive, I'm seeing that the more that you are kind of rolling with what Spirit, God, universe is showing you in the moment, and responding from your heart space, the more that you are actually, what do I want to say? It's at the same time, you're really feeling proud and feeling that respect for self and others. So I'm seeing this dragon's hoard protecting the future as exactly what we've been just talking about right now. So see how he's got that little nest of gemstones, and down here at the bottom there's those eggs there. It's the number 12 card. It's talking to me about poise, and he's got those keys too. So it's talking to me about protecting the future is an aspect of maybe you are drawn to work with the underserved, I don't know, children or special needs, or a teacher of some sort, a therapist, a healer. There are so many underserved populations, re-emerging citizens that have been incarcerated. If that's you, you'll understand. But on the basic level too, if you look around yourself, so many people are masquerading as adults, but many people that have had early trauma, it's said that you only mature as far as the point of your extreme trauma from that past. So if somebody had trauma in their childhood, they may know the right things to say and do on the surface, but underneath they're very either temperamental or insecure or something else. And sometimes by giving them attention and by saying just those right things, like, ooh, I don't think you deserve that. I don't think that person was treating you very respectfully. I think that you should, just think about that in a different way. I mean, and there I went, should. All of my advising. But I'm seeing this as protecting the future by walking the path. Is sometimes you're inspired to say things that maybe aren't advisable, but sometimes I find that the things that we probably shouldn't say, that just kind of pop out, they have their own bit of magic, even if it shows us to be unhealed or immature in a certain way. I mean, I feel like there's something more. I feel like it's protecting the future by changing the way that other people interact and integrate with other individuals. And as they watch you and how tender you are with them and how you don't exploit or call them out in a certain harmful, hurtful way, you're actually, you're nurturing them, and then you're not like that scary situation, and then they can perceive something different. By virtue of you being healed, you're protecting your own future, and you're generating that good karma, that Dharma in your life, which is like a magnet for the blessings that you came here to manifest. So recognize the value of all of the contributions that you make. Repairing the veil, forgiveness. I often see this sort of like a hand fasting type of a thing, or a maypole from the 1st of May at Beltane or something, when they have the ribbons tied to that tall pole and they run around skipping and wrap the maypole. I don't know if that's what this is supposed to be, but it says forgiveness, and it comes over magic, empowerment, and sacral chakra. 45 is a 9. I'm seeing this as forgiving your past, forgiving yourself, any type of guilt or shame, fear. If you can perceive something that makes you frustrated, angry, bitter, generally below those intense feelings of aggression or inequity, generally below that is either a sense of low self-value, self-worth, or sadness, grief, depression. And these things are definitely related to both the way that we perceive things with that third eye, and only we can tell ourselves, that isn't true, this is true. This is a feeling, this is a reality. And integrating, all feelings are okay, but not all feelings are truthful in the light of day. We can convince ourselves of untruths when we have baggage or hurts from the past. So to protect our future, we can sometimes start nurturing ourselves and nurturing others, and the more that we nurture, the more it becomes a way of life, and the more it heals the difference between that, the duality of, oh, well, I want to be this hero and respected, so I want to show everybody my best face, but ultimately inside I feel really shameful and guilty because of this and this and this in the past, or these bad feelings or intentions, or that this person still makes me feel jealous, or this person still makes me feel unwanted or neglected or abandoned, right? Some of those things. And we can perceive of these things, if we've ever felt that way, even if we have repaired our own veil so that we can see beyond that falsity into the true nature of our beauty and our divinity. When we can see beyond that for ourselves, we start to gift this to the world at large. Yes, there seems to be, with that repairing the veil also in forgiveness, I kind of see this as two different sides of an equation, two different sides of an argument, trying to connect and like crisscross, feel each other's perspectives and come to a middle ground. Some kind of a contract I'm seeing with that binding. And it's over magic. I mean, I don't practice spell work. I know that many people do, but I know that there's binding prayers and binding spells. Just be really careful when you do your own spell work, that you're concentrating on repairing, integrating, and working towards your own healing. I never advocate for performing any type of magic against anyone. I just don't think that's necessary. If we all stay in our own lane, those people will eventually choose their own destiny, and you don't need to be on that roller coaster with them. And the more that you bind another, you're binding yourself to that prayer and spell work as well. That's what I think. Under the deck we have Netcaster 42, which is a 6. Preparations come to fruition. In her net, it looks like she's in the cosmos, but she has a couple of fish and a seahorse in her net. But she appears to be an angel, and on her head she kind of seems to, I don't know if that's coral, but her hair, instead of hair, it's more like fins. It's interesting. And she has a basket there for her catch. So there may be some fleeting situations that are coming through, wanting to be perceived. Your hopes and dreams are inspired, and you're being shown some signs of these fleeting opportunities that you're meant to expand out of your previous safety zone and perceive of your abilities. Like for me, I was told I was shy as a child, but I just didn't have anybody worth talking to, I think, mostly. And other people told me that I wasn't worth listening to, so I was quiet and I wrote and I drew, and that was what I did. So I didn't think I was good at socializing, but honestly, if you haven't been able to tell, I tend to have a lot to say. I stored it all up for you. But you know, the more comfortable you are with yourself, you can go out in these social situations and it's just fine. Everybody else has their own hang-ups and issues, and when you can see everybody as that small inner child that also has wants, needs, and fears and anxieties over the same things you do, then there's no need for you to feel any different or on display. Anxiety is a weird animal, though, so if that's something you've dealt with, practice makes better. Maybe not perfect, but yeah, there's some kind of a preparation here. Preparing contracts, preparing some kind of a nest egg if you're ready to make a large investment here, reallocating funds, I mean, I'm not advocating for investments in the stock market or anything like that. I'm saying that you may have an idea or an invention or a way of being that you've been experimenting with, and it looks like there may be, like, for instance, in my situation, these outer influences that as a child I thought made me the way I am. As an adult, I can say, okay, nobody made me the way I was. I could have been 100 different ways if I had chosen those ways, but I chose the way I chose because that felt the best at the time. Where am I going with this? There's this forgiveness of feeling betrayed, feeling underestimated, feeling taken for granted, or anything that may come up. That feeling of neglect or abandonment. I see this little bird outside here, just tiny and sleek, black, with a long beak. I wonder if that's a baby crow or something. He's so pretty. Alright, he's gone now. I'm sorry to be distracted, but I feel like birds are definitely messengers. And if you are looking into your own healing journey and looking for signs like we saw in that netcaster, watch for those little messengers of spirit. And you don't have to know, well, what does it mean? What does it mean to you? Maybe it's just confirmation that you are surrounded. But there's something about, to protect our future and the future of our destiny and our highest purpose, there's something we have to make our way around. We have to integrate our skills and our fears and our, maybe our quirks. Maybe you're insecure about your quirks. Like, you know, I, as a spiritualist, when I go around and meet some people who are more traditional and conservative, they make a lot of judgments about me based on the political climate that this country and the small towns that I'm around in. They make judgments about me, but I'm not a very highly political person right now. So other people are still going to make their judgments, but you don't have to agree with those things. Why am I even talking about all this stuff? Using our consciousness to traverse. This is definitely what we're talking about, that empathy and the ability to perceive what others need to feel nurtured, accepted. And as we accept others, we are accepting ourselves. It's impossible to be in a place of non-judgment and love of another individual, even platonic love, without loving and accepting ourselves. Because if we haven't met ourselves, then we can't meet another in that place either. So yeah, merging the totality of our experiences into our present to serve our highest purpose. Your pain and your perception of suffering is not for nothing. It's an activation, and the more suffering that we have perceived of our own journeys of others, even our aggressors and abusers, if you look at their atrocious behavior, which looked like it was all projected at you, it's really because they are overflowing with that misery and that judgment and shame and guilt and depression and heaviness, and they want to push it on somebody else. Whoever will accept it and go, oh, what, I did something? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But don't take it into yourself if that's your situation. To serve your highest purpose, say in this situation, it would be better to say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's not my experience. You know, maybe there's somebody you can talk to. I don't know how you would handle that, but it shows me that in the moment, if you train yourself not to respond to their energy or their emotional projection, then you can actually see behind that into the fear and guilt and shame operating in that individual. You know, as they are overloaded and overflowing with this misery, asking and begging the world to show them love instead of that misery, when all they can show us is misery. if we continue to be in our love, overflowing love and security and protecting our future by not playing that bad game, then we are demonstrating for them how to do a little bit of the same thing. You know, we're overflowing that love and not allowing their misery to overflow and toxify our sacred waters. All right, many paths. So whether we've had suffering or whether we have people in our lives who are continuous sufferers, it's not for us to judge who's higher or lower consciousness. Some of that we would be surprised. Somebody who's emotionally unhealed, emotionally unstable, might perceive of something very high-minded in a different way. I was raised religious, not super religious, but we went to church and stuff. But then the older I got, the less it really sat with me in my heart the way that they were teaching it. I always believed in that higher power. I had evidence in my life through my suffering that I was protected. I was often injured, but I was protected. If you can see yourself through the perception of detachment, even if you were compromised, there is an element of protection available for us. And maybe not all of us felt protected. Maybe some of us were truly annihilated in our sense of security and safety. But we know we don't have to cling to that blame and wishing for ill upon that other individual who is the aggressor. Maybe part of their karma is to live a long life of that misery. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, well, the lower nature that feels wounded is like, oh, well, why can't that person get karma? Why can't that person just get culled off the face of the earth or something? You know, somebody, a warmonger or something, right? Somebody who's taken advantage of many others, you know, child predators. Sometimes it's hard for our heart to believe that these people aren't getting their own karma, but it's not for us to judge. As long as we stay on our straight and narrow path, we're going to continue to elevate up, and we can protect as many people as we can along the way. Interesting. I'm seeing an ancient civilization in the desert long ago along some kind of a sacred ley line or a charged pathway on the earth that may have been covered in sand. Like, aren't there places like that in Africa and Egypt or something like that? They make a lot of movies about stuff like that, but I'm seeing on that sacred site, I'm seeing hands lifting up like this. And it is a beachy scene with very clear water. So I don't know if you're doing some water healing or healing yourself on a beach or using, okay, there's this other thing too. If any of you have ever heard, you can do your own shamanic journeying and astral traveling, like we were talking about generating that beach scene. Whether you feel safest in a scene that's more like a beach or more like a woodland or more like a secret garden where only you have the key and maybe there's a fountain or a water, a clear pool nearby. If you imagine a space like that in your mind's eye on the repeat and envision yourself being tucked into that secret sacred space and being protected by all the powers that surround you, that you can perceive of the ancestors and everything else, and try to internally just lift up yourself in that space and just allow yourself to relax and to release that false control and to accept and forgive yourself for having these experiences and not being able to prevent experiences, and forgiving forgiving the trespassers that trespassed against you. I'm seeing you lifting others up. This lifting up many paths card, it's coming over third eye, healing, empowerment, and Merkaba. So yeah, healing, journeying is definitely coming out, and that's a 7. Spirit will show to you, whether it's ancestors or whatever. And there should be this feeling of expansion and breathing into that and honoring your path and recognizing where you are now and releasing expectation, but then thinking, where would I love to go next? And it's, yeah, let me just leave that one there. Oh, okay, I was thinking of this card when I was looking at repairing the veil, because look at the opulence and abundance here of nature. There's a butterfly there and all these beautiful spring flowers, ivies, and it looks like either a sunrise or a sunset, turning the scene golden on repairing the veil. And over here, it does look like a secret garden entrance. And maybe in the background, oh, there's a fox. I've never seen that fox there before. I have seen the hummingbird many times in here. Hummingbirds are very subtle creatures, very high vibrational, and that is the animal that I associate with my mother, who has passed on in 2020 because a hummingbird showed itself to me in her driveway after her passing. This says rest and renewal. So if there's somebody who has passed on that you had a difficult, challenging relationship with, that you would have wished to have been different, there are ways to heal that through that astral journeying, where you are putting yourself in that protective, nested space and allowing yourself to heal and to feel empowered going forward. You're no longer that small child. You're no longer who society told you you shoulda, woulda, coulda been. You are on a pathway unique to yourself. Don't judge where you've been and how it took you to get there. Maybe you've already been living a very high dollar life, and now you lost your job and you've got to reorient and simplify, and it can all be done. Take that time to rest and perceive of the way forward and forgive yourself for any mistakes. Maybe you lost everything on a bad stock market thing, investment, or a housing market crash or something. But there's more abundance than the material, and I know that we know this, but it doesn't feel like that when we're looking at our bank account and our bills and they don't match up. Beloved, radical acceptance. I'm going to put that right here in the center, and it comes over magic, empowerment, and all 4 of these cards here of this mixed deck. Radical acceptance. I'm feeling that is a self-love thing. Self-love, acceptance of the shadow and light, repairing the veil of that duality within the self. And because you're repairing yourself, you're no longer holding back. When you can perceive of what somebody needs from you to feel a different way, then we can provide that for them in a way. So this all looks, it all looks like, I know we talk a lot about healing, but the shadow is something that is working into our lives for an important reason, not because we want to turn it all to light. And like, as a healer, the first few times that I was working as a healer, I already, as an empath, I knew what these people needed from me. And I knew what their toxic traits were. And I was just gonna, like go through and like, I felt like cutting this out of their aura. Oh, you don't need this anymore. Let me just cut this little bit out here. And it actually, it created a painful experience for these people. 2 individuals I'm thinking of at different times, because I didn't know the power of my gift at that time. And as I was energetically coming in and dictating that, oh, this needs to be cut through and this is not worthwhile and, oh, this doesn't help you. It's not for us to choose what traits serve another individual. If they're still learning about keeping their proper boundaries and they have issues with boundaries, it's okay for them to go the other direction until they can find where peace and security and safety and belonging feel okay for them, right? So one of my experiences, the individual became sick to their stomach and had to discontinue. And we have done healing with her since that time, and it was a much different situation. But ultimately what I learned about that is that sometimes those, let's say, immature or insecure, overcompensating coping mechanisms for another is helping them to maintain and protect their own future. And so when we go in, it's not for us to use our ego to dictate their healing. It's for us as a healer to just radically accept that individual where they're at and how they've gotten to this point, and let those impulses that talk to us about, oh, well, you're perceiving insecurity because once upon a time you were insecure, and although you've gotten to this point through these coping skills and mechanisms and tools that you have in your toolbox, this individual may not be up to that intense level. Instead of asking to change that individual, witness it and say, oh yes, I have felt that and I feel very deeply and I understand and I accept this, and I'm just going to send love to that. It's not about cutting it out. Imagine your energy as real space, real energy that we just don't always see because our mind is so busy and egoic. But this is like an extension of the physical body. And if we were to go in and like scalpel cut out without any anesthesia and any love, then it's very painful. It's not good. You can get where I'm going with that. And so we don't need to point things out for other individuals. All we need to do is feel compassion and empathy, even when these people are super toxic. Accept that that's the path that they've chosen, and it comes with its own implications, and they are well on their journey. And we can't save them all, but we can't heal them for them. The healer doesn't heal the objective individual. What we do is we are a conduit of unconditional love, unconditional well-being, and instantaneous cellular regeneration. And as a conduit for that, all we can do is, instead of bringing it through your body and your ego and your heart and saying, oh, well, this is what needs to happen, it's just allowing that to come through and just say, I allow Spirit, God, Universe to place this love in this place and help this individual to love themselves where they're at and how they're at. And if the only thing that you ever do is help someone to accept and magnetize love into their life, that is healing. I see that we have talked a long time today, so let me just get you a couple cards. Scared of commitment, probably because there's been pain in the past. Scorpio, that was the lunar eclipse that we had on the 15th of May 2022, if you're watching this in our timeline. But these are timeless readings. Mature masculine. So there may be somebody with Scorpio in their chart, or either affecting you, or this could be the lunation. So that, okay, trust issues. I wanted you to chase me, build bridges, observation, looking for clues. So there's something being healed here, perhaps two people on different timelines, different upbringings, different maybe political, social, or socioeconomic status, or different belief patterns. And I feel that in particular, to narrow this down from all the various people, it's a partnership, a love, a new friendship, something where people are bonding and witnessing and observing somebody who's seemingly very different but also very similar. Trauma bonding. Yeah, there's an end of an old cycle because we have this repairing the veil. So if you don't know, trauma bonding is when you've had trauma in your past, and instead of being attracted to those individuals that would provide you with that divine love and acceptance, you tend to be super intensely attracted to those individuals that exhibit the same type of subtle behaviors that will challenge you and re-wound your ego and your inner child, so that you can hopefully get to the point where you witness the untruth of that and accept and invest in your radical acceptance of yourself. And when you do that, these individuals will no longer be as attractive. You will see them coming, and if you find somebody on the other side of the veil that you are connecting in very closely with, I feel that the two individuals on either side are, they may be polar opposites, that opposites attract, or like that twin flame dynamic where there's still that push-pull dynamic. We can play those things out with all types of people, coworkers, family members in our life until we integrate the healing into our everyday world, and we have this inner sanctuary within the self. Sorry about that, I don't have my ringer off. So these trauma bonds bring us back to that point of rejection, so it redirects us back into our heart space of self-acceptance. Self-sabotage, self-fulfilling prophecy, negative mindset. That may be yourself or another. It comes right over beloved, radical acceptance. And we talked about it right off the bat. Building confidence, working on myself. So absolutely, there's something here about the two different polarities blending and integrating so that both people's wobble is not like this on the opposite side, but maybe more like this. You know, like the what do I want to say? Like the rising feminine and the descending masculine is like the constant ebb and flow of the integration of our inner self, like taking action for our highest good. Instead of reaching for a beer, if we don't want to be an alcoholic, then maybe we should reach for some kombucha. It's got some fizz, it's got some flavor, it's an interesting change. Upgrade whatever thing that you reach for that continues to keep you in that cycle of, I want it, I can't have it, I'm going to do this instead, which is self-sabotage, and then I'm going to witness the implications of that, and it's going to reinforce my negative belief about self. That's the old cycle. So as you forgive yourself and witness yourself and build that confidence, it's helping you to accept and connect with others, and there's a blending of both energy signatures and both individuals having this extreme healing. You inspire me. Number 5, throat chakra, using your throat to say things. Like I was talking about, I felt I didn't have things to say or other people didn't want to hear them. So many people have very unique messages, and other people that are trauma bonds will be like, oh, you're so silly, or oh, you're so naive, or oh, you're so this, you're so that, or you're so egoic, or you're cocky, it's not confidence. Throat chakra with Mercury too. Right now we're still in Mercury retrograde. we're getting close to the end of it. I don't know when it reverts and goes stationary and then goes back to direct motion, but it's coming up soon. So Mercury is right around the North Node. So as it's going in retrograde, it's reevaluating, re-introspecting, and during this process following the eclipses, it's about re-envisioning the true value of your words and your messages and your beliefs and your purpose and what you like, and expressing that. So, workaholic trying to impress you, 5555. Power couple, reclaim your power. Single parent chakra activation, 4444. I see you in my future. So yeah, that Beltane hand fasting thing, it very well could be partners coming together for either a contract or a higher level of commitment in a bonded, intimate relationship, either emotional friendship or romantic. I think I will get you one of these love notes from the universe, and then I will... It's kind of a lot. The one on top says, just remember, most people are so beguiled by your charm, awed by your confidence, and inspired by your choices, they simply forget to say, thank you, please, and I love you like crazy, as often as they feel the urge. Let's not be one of those people. Thank you, please, I love you like crazy, the universe. So yeah, like somebody stole your voice like the sea witch on The Little Mermaid Disney. I know that's kind of infantile, but I mean, we're talking about these symbols, and the sea witch is like the toxic want-to-be mother that was the nemesis of the mermaid's father. But in Disney movies, nobody ever has a mother, right? This is one of the conspiracy things about Walt Disney's onward about that message. But yeah, so there's some kind of some type of and there goes my throat chakra, something about somebody gave you false messages, and this has interrupted your ability to pursue your career or calling or purpose or healing. But the more you witness and the more you practice, the benefit that you provide instantaneously to others through your acceptance and your love and just the beaming of your love light by your attention to them, it can make some people misinterpret and think that you're interested. See me in their eyes, even your enemies. Love doesn't have to mean near. You know what to do. So you can love an individual unconditionally, such as friends, family, or just individuals. I find it easier to love people than to like them. So, okay. The older the soul, the softer the glance, the quicker the smile, and the sooner to say, I love you. They also skip and wink more than normal and hold hands with those they walk beside. Utterly fearless, the universe. So you may be an old soul and may have been in different situations of self-fulfilling lack of success or financial concerns. But as an old soul, your Akashic heritage is saying that you've been through all these cycles before and you have what it takes to generate this new sense of wealth, but it comes through believing in yourself and your gifts and speaking it forward. The more you express, the more people will witness your value and they will be awed, but they may not know how to convey this to you. But looking into their eyes for that acceptance, even if it's hidden, allow that to reinvigorate your sense of timing. It's time to make a demonstration and to tell people that I heart you. That you have options is meaningful. Rock on. You don't need to be just a responder. All right, this is a really long one, but it felt like a very timely message. I will stop right there because I could go on all day. So thank you so much for joining us. If this resonated with you or another, go ahead and share that message with anyone you think that needs to hear that message. And if you're inspired to like, share, subscribe, I truly appreciate you. Or make a comment to let me know how this is working through in your life. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us and getting those messages out to those that need them. Looking forward to seeing you guys again real soon. Bye.